What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome back to the Sooner Surge. Before we get going with this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications. It'll let you know every time we're live or every time we put out a video. So do that. Also, check out the Fan Stop, www.thefanstop.com. Christmas is just around the corner. You can sign up for the Shirt of the Month Club. You'll get 10% off your first 3 months if you use code SURGE, and great present to give to people. I'll tell you that right now. It's a great, any OU fans you got, even if they're not OU fans, they cover a lot of schools, officially licensed for a lot of college universities. So check them out. Jackson, this video, we're just going to kind of just discuss our feelings on the state of the football program as it is right now. This is a bye week, so there's not a whole lot going on. It's a bye week. They've come out, president and AD both said they are supportive of BV for another year, so he's going to get another year. So just kind of where it's at right now. I mean, this is year one in the SEC, Jackson, and it's not been up to standards, to say the least. It's been a disappointing year. I think everybody would agree with that. Things have not went their way, and it goes from the hiring of Seth Luttrell to the injuries to the play on the field. I mean, you could go down. There's a list. It goes from top to bottom, okay? But just kind of overall where this football program is right now and what they need to do before next year.
Yeah, Jason, you said it, and I think you started off right with just – you talk about it, the hiring of Seth Luttrell over the offseason. And when it comes to the evaluation of talent, too, especially along the offensive line, that's somewhere where Oklahoma and Bill Bedenbaugh did not do a great job at all. The only player I think amongst the group that's been an okay player has been Michael Tarquin. I don't think he's been bad, but he's not necessarily been good as well. Febechi Wiwu has not been a very good player for Oklahoma, especially him coming from North Texas, having a ton of success there his 2 years, being an all-freshman player for them, and him just really not taking the jump that we thought he would. Some guys not having the development that we thought they would have. And I know the injuries has played a major part on the offensive side of the ball. But you would think at the University of Oklahoma, you would have guys in the 2 deep that would be ready to step in, be ready to play, be ready to make their impact felt. That is not what has happened in any spot really along the offensive unit. The development of the QB room this year has been atrocious. I don't know if I haven't seen it worse since I've remember starting watching Oklahoma football. Jason, I don't know if you've ever seen it worse while watching Oklahoma.
No, I mean, this Jackson overall, I mean, we could spend a whole 2 hours on the offense. It's just there's things just, I mean, as a fan and watching it, you know, you bring it up. You brought up the injuries. I get it. And that's a big part of the issues. I get it. But my thing is, okay, now you're going into game 11 or whatever it is.
Yep.
You would think some of these guys that have now been playing all year, you would start seeing some stuff from them. And you're just seeing nothing offensively in the passing game. It's not – I mean, you can't – I mean, Brennan Thompson, all year long. What's the most catches he's got all year in a game? 3. I mean, it's just it's hard to even talk about the offense, how bad it is. And and you mentioned quarterback play. It's unacceptable, I would say, at Oklahoma. There's not any development. You're right about that. There hasn't been any, and if anything, they've went backwards. I would say, and I know a lot of that, and you could say a lot of that is because of the coaching, in my opinion. I mean, I think it's too hard to tell right now where they are talent-wise, because on offense, because I don't trust that the guys leading the offense have put them in the best positions to show what they can do. Now, am I sitting there saying Bauer Sharp's an All-American tight end? No. I'm not. I don't know if Bauer Sharp's he hasn't been done much this year. He hasn't been very good. But I also know if a guy's not a blocking tight end, don't put him in that situation. So I think there's a lot of things they could maybe do better to kind of disguise some of that stuff that they're not good at, and it just hasn't happened. So I think the offense in general is just flush it at the end of the year, flush it down the toilet, and go get somebody to call this offense and take control and see what happened. And that's what you're going to have as fans. That's what you're going to have to look forward to next year is go make a really good hire, see what they do. Now, there will still be a lot of people that aren't sure if Brent Venables is the guy. I think there's still a lot of the fan base that will say that. And I think that's a fair assessment because I don't think it's been 3 years now, and I know this schedule was the toughest. Next year will be even tougher. So, Jackson, realistically, I mean, let's just forget what they get in the portal. Let's not talk about that yet. I think the number one thing for this team closing out the next 2 games, number one thing is to not go get destroyed in 2 games. I think it's very important that you are competitive at some point in these games because the main thing is you got to keep this recruiting class together. And I've heard a lot of the recruits are all in. They're saying they're not going anywhere. I get it. But you got to do whatever you can to keep this together. You've backed BV and saying he's coming back. Okay, now you got to keep the recruiting class together and keep it where it's ranked. And then you got to go win the portal and win it big time. And there's a lot that they have to do before next year with that schedule to say, hey, this team next year can legitimately go, 8-4, 7-5. To get to that point, you're going to have to make – to get to 8-4 or 7-5 next year, you're going to have to make, I think, major improvements.
Yeah, and I think something that you hit on was Brent Venables and the way he's been recruiting for Oklahoma. Well, you look at some of the cornerstone players that they've gotten as recruits, they necessarily haven't lived up to what they thought they would be. Jackson Arnold, absolutely not. We thought Jackson Arnold this year was going to have a chance to come in and not be, I wouldn't say competing for a Heisman, but be in the top half of quarterbacks in the SEC, be playing really good ball, and going into year 2 starting under Jackson Arnold next year, you could be like, all right, we have something here, and a legitimate cornerstone QB to lead this team. That hasn't worked out well. You have guys like PJ Adebore, who he's been banged up some. He really hasn't got much of an opportunity, but still, what we thought he could be, he hasn't shown much of that. Peyton Bowen, we thought he would be a big contributor on this year's team. He hasn't been contributing much. He's not been very good in the punt return game, which he was exceptional at in high school, which to me just doesn't make sense how you get that much worse at punt return. And then you do have guys like David Stone and Jaden Jackson, and then you have the potential of Michael Fasusi signing. You have a Ryan Foje, right? So you have 2 elite offensive linemen right there, Jason. But just those top recruits, really, when you look at them, they necessarily haven't lived up to the expectations in which they thought they would. And then for BV, does he deserve a year 4? No, I think it's fair to say Brent Venables doesn't deserve a year 4, but he's going to get a year 4. And this is Brent Venables' last shot to prove that he is going to be the head coach of Oklahoma for a long time, because from year 1 to year 2, we saw the significant jump we wanted to see as Oklahoma fans. They got so much better. And going into the SEC, they just flat out have not played good football at all. It's been a poorly coached team, poorly executed on offense. You've even seen at times poor execution on defense as well, which under year 3 under Brent Venables, you still wouldn't think you'd be seeing the busted coverages, the miscommunications, the missed assignments, all this, and it still is happening in year 3. Now, I know you can look and say, well, on offense, you have all these young guys. You can get your receivers back next year. On defense, I think the defensive side is going to be really, really good again next year as long as they're able to keep the players that they have on the roster currently with the recruits coming in. But, Jason, there needs to be a massive almost sense of urgency and desperation from Brent Venables going into this offseason. You need to overhaul a lot of spots on the roster, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, whether that's the offensive line. I think they need to go out and get a transfer QB or 2 in the portal that are going to have a chance to come in and play.
Well, I think a lot of it's going to depend as far as who you go get in the portal. I'm not talking about quarterback. I'm just saying in general is also who do you have leave? I mean, that's what nobody knows yet. I mean, we talk about the receivers, the ones that have been injured, guys like Nick Anderson, Jaden Gibson. I mean, the thought is that they'll be back, but what if they jump in? I mean, so I think you don't know yet. We'll see, but I think it starts with you got to be very urgent and very quick in getting an OC in here. And you got to be very quick in getting a good hire and a good one in there. The other one I'll say about the O-line, I have been thoroughly I don't even know the word to use about the players they got out of the portal. It hasn't been good. But you know what? I'm going to give it up to guys like Heath Ozida and Logan Howland, just in the fact that they haven't played at all. They are being thrown into an offense with two coordinators in the same year, Seth and then Joe John, and they're playing against SEC defensive linemen. And you know what? I think actually, I mean, Howland got it handed to him when that game they allowed 10 sacks. He got destroyed. Okay, Ole Miss. But I thought he played better the next week. I think he learned from it, and I think Ozida's learned. And they're very young. So to me, the more frustrating part are the guys they brought in that haven't helped much. Guys like Fabechi, who you thought might be a solidified guy there. So that's probably the frustrating part. They got to do better in the portal this year. That's all there is to it. You have to be better in the portal than they were last year. And they got a lot of things they need to get better before next year. But the portal's one of them. Getting this recruiting class signed is another one. Getting the correct OC hire, It's got to be the correct one. You've seen teams. I mean, Indiana last year in the portal went and got 30 players. Colorado got 50-something players. I'm not saying I'm not.
Ole Miss, you see where Ole Miss is at.
OU will never do that. I don't think, because I don't think they will lose that many. But at the same time, they won't ever play that much in the portal. But let's say they go get 15. I'm just throwing. I don't know. Throwing a number out. They got to hit on about 12. I mean, they got to be very good in the portal. That's what you have to do in the portal. You got to win it, and you got to go be strong at it. You got to be willing to spend the money at it. All that matters. So I have one question for the people that are watching this video, and it's for you too as we close, Jackson. How in 1 year did the offense get to be historically bad? And this is for everybody that's watching the video. Give me how did it get this bad? How did it get this bad?
I think there's two things. To me, number one is not hiring a full-time QB coach that has actually coached QBs, because I think that significantly hindered the development of Jackson Arnold. It significantly hindered the development of Michael Hawkins for a full year. It might have even hurt the chances that Casey Thompson can get even better than what he already has been, just from more coaching and stuff. And secondly, I think it's terrible evaluations on the offensive line. I think it's those two things. The play calling, yes, was an abysmal. It was so bad under Seth Luttrell. But I think if you have good QB play and a good offensive line, Seth Luttrell looks like a lot better play caller.
There we have it. And everybody watching this video, I'd love to see your comment on that, because I think it's an answer that a lot of people are wondering, and it's a question people have asked. And, is it a talent issue? Is it purely a bad OC hire, and you think they can turn it around in 1 year? I think that'd be I think you can turn it around, but I don't know if you can turn it around enough to be dominant on offense. We'll see. What does everybody think? Talent, coaching, play calling, portal, what is it? Let us know your thoughts. Thanks for watching this video. We appreciate it. We just wanted to do this to kind of talk about where it's at this year. It's a bye week, and there's not a whole lot else to talk about until the game next week with Alabama. So we wanted some feedback, some thoughts of what you guys thought watching this video. So please drop your comments in there. Like the video. Appreciate you as always. We go live every night at 9:30. Be a part of it. You can jump in. You can call in and talk every night at 9:30. So join up. You guys have a good night.